everyone. Welcome to Brother, Sister, Whatever, where real talk meets zero chill. I'm Lisa.
I'm Josh.
So today is something kind of special. We're taking our self-care versus self-indulgence episode that we did, I think, pretty early on in our podcast season. And we're giving it a rewatch. That was the episode that you were actually away.
Yeah.
So I did that one solo, which was kind of scary. I was
did
like,
great.
oh my gosh, I wonder if I'm going to be able to carry the episode.
Of course.
There's something to be said about having us bounce off of each other. So just not having that dynamic was a little different. But the topic really resonates with everybody.
For sure.
And so one of the reasons that we decided to kind of rewatch this episode with you is because I wanted to get your opinion as a man.
The old wise one.
And, what self-care means to you. So let's dive into it, shall we?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Our weekly what if on the original episode was, if you could only use your 10-year-old selves' hobbies for self-care right now, what would they be? And do you think that they would actually still work? What about you?
I mean, I definitely think even my 10-year-old self, games was like a big part of it. I think the one thing that was very different, well, actually, yeah, it's still kind of different, is sports. When I was a kid, man, the amount of sports that I did.
That's true.
Basketball.
Baseball.
Hockey, street hockey. There was just always something. I was always out. I was always doing something.
Yeah, you were very active.
Yeah.
Actually, we were, as a family.
Mom and
I'd
Dad
say so. Were
so.
Pretty outdoorsy.
Yeah, Dad especially.
Yeah.
But so I was gonna say, I guess I'm technically not doing that now, but theoretically now my sport is the gym, right? So it's kind of, kind of in the same category in a way, So I think that without knowing it, that was kind of my self-care. The sports, I think, it does something to you, right? Like the exercise, the mental stimulation, all of it.
When we're kids, we don't really think of it as self-care, right? No. It's just stuff that we love to do.
Yeah.
Everything, as a kid, I think everything you do really is very selfish, right? It's really all about self-care or things that you want to do for yourself. You're not thinking of other people very often as a kid.
Yeah.
So I think in many ways, kids have it they have it right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They know what's going to make them feel good and they stick with it.
Yeah. I mean, that couldn't be better said, because when you look at, what I'm diving into philosophy wise, it always comes up that kids, the innocence and the no care mentality is so just beautiful.
Yeah.
And
then it's slowly killed out of you.
Exactly.
Malheureusement.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Because I think if we kept a little bit of that, even just a fraction of that inside of us, but not just I'm not talking about the specific self-care thing that you would do, like a sport or whatever. I'm talking about the mentality that you have when doing something you love, right? And making it a priority for your well-being, your mental health. I think we could go places. If we kept even just a fraction of it.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Well, I mean, it's too bad, but it's almost full circle because don't you notice that this happens when you're a child, and then when you become an adult, it slowly gets kind of taken away. And then as we get older, we go back to looking for what we had.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's the stage I'm in for sure.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
I think I can't speak for everyone, but I think a lot of people that are, in their 40s and so on, they kind of have that realization of like, okay, like I need to pay attention to me too,
Yeah.
especially if I want to help the people around me,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Well, that's the weekly what if. All right, Josh. So, speaking of self care and kind of like segueing into self indulgence and the difference between the two,
Hmm.
what do you think the difference is?
My thought is like food.
Okay.
So for self care, it's like I might have hear me out. I might have that salad, but I'll have like a little something,
Little treat.
a little treat. Where it's like this whole thing is kind of like that self care. Like I'm eating healthy, but also I'm balancing what I'm eating.
Okay.
Versus self-indulgent would be like, I'm gonna have that ginormous piece of cheesecake and that's it, that's all, and I'm not gonna hit my protein.
Okay.
Or, so I guess like that's my analogy in any kind of term,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like self-care could be, oh yeah, okay, no, look, they're coming. Self-care could be like, I'll spend half an hour after the gym,
Mhm.
in between waking up my kids to go to school.
Mhm.
I'll spend half an hour and I'll play my game. It's the only time I play a game now. It's
Okay.
just 30 minutes. It's right before everyone gets up. So it's like 5:30 a.m. I'll play half an hour and then it's like I had my fix. To me, that's self-care. Indulgence would be from, guilty in the past, but like, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Mm.
I'm gaming, and it's
And
like,
everything else falls to the wayside,
yeah,
kind of
and I
thing.
might be like, hey, yeah, okay, go to bed, or whatever. Like that is like, okay,
Yeah.
you're taking a little too much now,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Okay. But now, like, let's take the feeling of it,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling behind it, right? I've really started to look at like what I do for self care, and as I had mentioned in the original, I was, it was the doom scrolling, it was the sitting, and just like because I had nothing else to give. Kind of look at it like the cup is
Mm-hmm.
me, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm putting in it or what I'm doing can either fill the cup or take away from the cup. If you're somebody like me that's always like, gotta take care of everybody else, you're always putting yourself last. Now I'm realizing the importance, like that, and that metaphor. It's a metaphor for a reason with the airplane and giving yourself oxygen before you save other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so freaking true. You can't, you could until you can't anymore. And then
Mm.
when you can't, it's like,
Yeah. So
what
very true.
else? Yeah. What else do you have? For guilt, it's really important to remember that you are allowed
Mm-hmm.
to give yourself self care.
Yeah.
It's okay,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
think that's very difficult, and I think sometimes even I've been guilty in doing the opposite, where but not to myself. Like and I don't mean to do it sometimes, but sometimes it just kind of happens where like you have a friend or a partner where it's like they do one of their things that is like their self-care, but like because you're not seeing the full dynamic of it, it almost looks like that's the only thing happening. So you're kind of like what are you doing? But you do you know what I mean? Because I've been in that like the
Where
reverse.
somebody's looking at you
Like I
gaming.
get my little half an hour, and for whatever reason, someone wakes up in that half hour, and then I kind of have that oh shit, I'm caught. Like look, you know what I mean though?
Yeah. But you
And
shouldn't.
no, I know.
I think it's because society as a whole
Mm,
is like hustle mentality.
yeah,
Like, the fuck are you doing? Don't you have something to do?
yeah.
Don't you have kids to raise? Don't you have like, you know,
I think we're kind of programmed like that.
cows to milk and shit? I don't know.
What?
I thought I'd bring that in from our Survivor, like
Oh my
segue.
gosh.
I don't know, but I just think, yeah, I just think that there's a lot of judgment from other people. There's like, everybody's saying hustle, hustle, hustle.
Yeah.
Nobody has time for self-care and everybody's struggling and it's affecting mental health.
Yeah, and I think everyone is guilty of both
Oh,
scenarios.
absolutely.
Like I don't want to say that
Absolutely.
I give everyone their self-care and I'm very, like I'm
No.
sure there's times where I'm like burp 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 burp, or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Where do you overindulge instead of recharge?
where do I
Specifically for you, yeah. Is there an area that you overindulge in as opposed to recharging or not really?
um I think I can confidently say, maybe the people in my life would think differently, I don't know. But I think I could confidently say that I really don't overindulge.
Mm.
Um,
But you do self-care, right?
yeah,
Okay. So that's good. So
yeah.
you feel like you are.
Like I said, I have my little game in the half hour. Self care for me is still, even though, it feels like a task,
Mhm.
I still love the working out. Like I feel like I have to do it. Self care for me is counting my calories. Like all of these things are like very much part of that. I feel good doing that.
Okay.
If I'm not counting my calories, I don't know, that could be a sickness, I guess, too. But if I'm not counting my calories, or I'm then I'm starting to feel like I'm not taking care of myself.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. No,
so
that's I get it.
I think, and then I try not to feel guilty when
Yeah.
I quote unquote overindulge, even though it's probably not overindulging. Like I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have that cheesecake, and it's like I was good all week. You have to make excuses in my head, valid excuses, but like, okay, well, I mean, I did all week. All I had
Yeah.
was like a piece of baklava. Like, like I have my cheesecake.
Yeah.
It's in my calories. It's in my range. So like you almost have to,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
So maybe aim for like doing that and allowing yourself to do that with less guilt.
Yeah, and I think I'm much better because I
Okay.
used to be that annoying person, especially when it came to food, where it was like, oh, but there's that in the food. It's poisonous, or
Jeez.
whatever. And like now I have like such a different outlook on that. I'd say that like I don't think I really overindulge on any category. Um, at least nothing I can really think of. I don't like shop till I drop kind of thing.
Okay, so you don't overindulge very much, but the level of self-care, do you think that's where it needs to be for you? Like, are you happy with where you are at self-care? Or do you feel like something's still lacking?
I think if you're happy, I'm not saying that, this is just my personal opinion, but I think if you're happy at self care, at like where you are, I think that something's not right. Like I feel like you're always going to be
Needing and wanting and
maybe, yeah,
switching it up?
just yeah, you're always going to be kind of looking for more self care.
Mm,
I don't think it's something where it's like I'm perfect this way. If I have this, I will always be perfect.
that's true.
I feel like it's more of like a journey thing, and you just kind of get what you get. Sometimes it might be more, sometimes it might be less,
Huh.
and it's just not really a set quote or quota that you need in order to feel perfect.
Okay.
Like I'm getting into meditation now, and I'm really into Taoism and this and that. So it's like these are the things that I don't want to be maxed out,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
If I'm maxed out, I don't know. I feel, like I mean, if I was maxed out, that means I would be at total peace. Like everything would be, I would be Josh the monk. Like I mean, and even I'm sure even if you talked to one of them, they'd be like, no, I'm not at the max, right? I mean,
That's true.
I'm not that methodical there kind of thing, but like I'm sure like the Dalai Lama wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I'm so chill." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm perfect. Like yes, I meditate every day and I'm sure he would have some crazy humble comment where you'd be like, "Oh my God, like even him. You know what I mean, though? So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how
That's
I.
a good way of looking at it. I didn't look at it like that. Like it's like a journey just like life. Self-care
Yeah,
is, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that.
Josh the monk. Remember
Josh the
that.
monk. Do you think that men and women treat self-care differently?
Yes. But I do feel though that like it's almost like is taboo the right word? Like when it comes to men and self care, I feel like it's very like we're not allowed to talk about that kind of thing.
Talk about it. You're not even allowed to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I do.
Self-care?
I've always felt that vibe, even just growing up. Be a man, like suck it up, Buttercup. Like this is your life now. There,
Yeah.
and so when it was like, oh, men can express their feelings too, or men are deserve to do that. Mm, even men will argue about that. You'll have some men that will be like, "Yeah, you deserve that," and then you'll have other men who will be like, "You're a clown." So you have it from men, and then you have it from the other side too, where it doesn't look masculine,
Mm.
right? And then and as a man, you kind of get confused.
So one of the things that came up was boundaries.
Hmm.
Do you think boundaries is part of self-care?
I do now.
Same. I never would have put that together.
Mm.
I always thought like self-care was like caring for your body.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the serums and the bubble baths and
Yeah.
but and then by default that would inevitably give you the mental self-care part of it would come naturally through those acts.
Right.
And yeah, that's not always the case.
No.
Not always the case at all.
I mean, self-care in the sense of boundaries is like,
The ultimate.
well, yeah, because I mean, if you're getting mentally abused, right? I
What's a
mean,
bubble bath going to do?
nothing, right? So yes, boundaries is definitely a big part of self-care,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I agree. Setting a boundary does 10 times more for my self-care than any amount of reading a book or
Hmm.
sitting in a room full of scented candles and meditating and like
Yeah.
it changes things.
Hmm.
In the original episode we spoke about social media and yes and how it affects
Hmm.
our views on self-care,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Do you have anything to say about that?
I think social media takes it a little, too far.
As with most things, I think the you know I've fallen victim to that, right, where I've gone out and bought like the 7-step Korean serum that I never use, and you're just like
And
but here's the thing, self-care and like we were talking about boundaries and like it doesn't matter what the act is, it's about the feeling that you're getting from it, right?
hmm.
And whether it fills your cup or it doesn't fill your fucking cup.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, over time I've realized that watching all of these things on Instagram and whatever takes all of my energy away from me, never makes me feel any better about myself, lowers the amount of money I have in my fucking account because I'm going out and I'm buying all of these stupid things that apparently are supposed to make me happy that don't.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, all I really need is some good boundaries, a few affirmations popping up in my Instagram feed, and a positive attitude. And like, yes, of course, watch the Netflix, have the bubble bath. Of course.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying don't do that. But what does it make you feel? That's the main point. That's how I look at it.
And you can get the cream
Oh,
that the person is using or whatever.
absolutely.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like the facade of like, like
this thing
This
of this is
image.
what you need to be happy.
Exactly.
This is what you need to be fulfilled, and it's
that's
all
that's
fucking
what's
bullshit.
happening. That's what's happening in the world, right?
Yeah,
We need to do all of these things,
yeah,
right? So it's a lot.
and yeah, it is.
So now we have the this or that, men versus women self-care edition.
All right.
So here I'll go. Gym session versus bubble bath.
I guess the bubble bath versus the gym session. For you, headphones and alone time or heartfelt group therapy?
The alone time. Solo road trip or spa retreat.
You know what? A solo road trip sounds really fun.
I like solo road trips.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, last one. A new tech gadget or new game, let's say, or a new skincare routine.
You know what? I've been recently looking into skincare routines.
Yeah.
So even though even not a game, tech, I love tech. So that really, fills my cup a little bit there. But I think I would go ahead and steer a little different this time, and I
Yeah?
would take the skincare. Yeah, I feel like my skin needs some help. At this old age now.
Yes,
So
with the wrinkles and dry skin, eh?
that's it.
Eh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's close it up, Josh.
All right.
So, thanks everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of Brother, Sister, Whatever.
Well, we want you to comment and tell us a little bit about what your self-care routine looks like. Also, please, you can follow us or give us even a like or even some fan mail. We loved getting the fan mail.
Yes.
So that was awesome.
At Brother, Sister, Whatever, Spotify, everywhere you can listen to podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah. So let us know, please.
All right, guys.
Bye.